Hi there, welcome back to our tutorial series on YouTube. Don't forget that this tutorial is brought to you by O3 School's JAMB app. And if you haven't downloaded your app up till now, don't sleep on it. Hurry now to Play Store and download your app. So our topic for today's class is obedience and rewards. Obedience and rewards. So first, we define obedience. Obedience is simply submission to authority. Let's have that down. Obedience means submission to authority. So obedience simply means submission to authority. It is, willingness to comply with instruction given, with laid down instructions. And obedience leads to rewards. Let's have it. It leads to rewards. Which is obedience and reward. So when we submit to authority, when we comply with instructions given to us, there is a reward. Now, many people obeyed God in the Bible, and we're going to look at some of those people, and we see the rewards that they got for their obedience to God. One, we have Abraham in Genesis chapter 22. Abraham in Genesis chapter 22. So Abraham had a child. God gave Abraham a son in his old age. And God still told Abraham that he should take this son and offer him as a sacrifice in the land of Moriah. Without hesitation, the very next morning, Abraham took his son as well as two of his men and set out for Moriah, where God had asked him to offer his son as a sacrifice. Now, when Abraham got there and God saw that Abraham was ready, he was willing to go through with sacrificing his son, God stopped him and provided a ram instead. So God asked Abraham to offer his son as a sacrifice, and Abraham obeyed. Some of the rewards Abraham got. Rewards for Abraham were: first, God said he would bless him. God promised to bless him and multiply his descendants. God said, in blessing, I will bless you. And in multiplying, I will multiply your descendants. They will be like the stars of heaven and the sand by the seashore. So God promised to multiply his descendants. And then he also said his descendants would possess the gates of their enemies. His descendants would possess the gates of their enemies. And also, God would bless all the nations of the earth through Abraham. That was the reward Abraham got for obedience to God, willing to sacrifice his son to God. Then we have another example: Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego in Daniel chapter 3. These three lived in Babylon, and as at that time the king of Babylon made an image of gold, and he ordered that everyone should worship it. They were to fall down on their faces whenever they heard music. But Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego refused to do that. Instead, they chose to obey God. They refused to bow down to any image. So in obedience to God. And when it was reported to the king ordered them to be brought before him. And he told them, you either do this or we throw you into the furnace. And they agreed to what? Enter the furnace rather than bowing down to whatever image the king had made up. And in anger, the king ordered for the furnace to be heated up 7 times more than usual. It was so hot that even the people that threw these 3 men in, the heat consumed them. But what happened? We found out that Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were not hot. So as they obeyed God and refused to bow down to any other image, God saved them from death. These are their rewards now. God saved them from death. They were promoted. The king promoted them. And also, they led the people of Babylon to God. So they made them know that God is supreme, as evidence in the words of the king, where he said no other God would be able to deliver like their God. They were all in awe that God could rescue his own from the fire. Also, we have David in 1 Samuel chapter 30. The Amalekites attacked Ziklag and they burnt it down, made away with their valuables, and even took the people as hostages. Now, when David and his men arrived there, they wept at the situation they found. And some people even contemplated stoning David. But David looked up to God and asked, what should he do? And God asked him to pursue the Amalekites and overtake. God promised to what? Restore all that they had lost if he would just pursue. David obeyed despite 200 of his men being unable to go with him because they were extremely tired. During the chase, they found an Egyptian slave of the Amalekites. The Amalekites had left him to die in the field, and David nursed him back to health, and he led them to the camp of the Amalekites, where David was able to attack them, and God gave them the victory. So the reward for David was now, David recovered all the Amalekites took. In obedience to God, where David pursued like God asked him to, he was able to recover all that the Amalekites took from Ziklag. Now, these are just some people that obeyed God and God blessed them. Others that we have Moses. Moses obeyed God. Jacob obeyed God. Moses, Jacob, Samuel, Isaiah. These are some other people that obeyed God and God rewarded them for their obedience. That's it for obedience and reward. So we head over to the O3 Schools JAMB app to check out some questions that have been asked on this topic. But before we look at them, please do not forget to like this video. If you have any question, you can put it in the comments below and we'll respond to you. Also subscribe so when new content is out, you get notifications. Here is a question from 2013, and it says, when the 3 Hebrew men refused to worship the king's image, he commanded that they be A, beheaded, B, thrown into the lion's den, C, thrown into a furnace, D, stoned. The answer is C, thrown into a furnace. Here, a question from 2006. The effect that the fate of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had on King Nebuchadnezzar and his subjects was that they refrained from persecuting the Jews in exile. B, they were converted. C, they forsook their gods. D, they believed that there was no other God able to deliver. The answer is D, they believed that there was no other God able to deliver like the way the God of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego delivered them. So please do well to download your O3 Schools JAMB app and you too can have access to all of these questions. Thank you.